only 80 times, not 90 times. It will not say, today I am rather tired, therefore 40 times I will revolve. It is not. Because it is set to revolve 80 times and therefore it keeps doing. Therefore it is mechanical. That is why it is called machine. Suppose that machine comes to know that I have been moving mechanically 80 times per minute. Please tell me, is it a machine? Suppose the machine comes to know that I am moving 80 times per minute mechanically. Is it a machine? It is not a machine. No, it is not a machine, because once it knows that I am moving mechanically, it is not a mechanical thing. Because it knows. Once it knows I am moving mechanically, it is no more mechanical. It comes to know. Therefore it is not mechanical. When it doesn't know, it is mechanical. Similarly, if I keep reacting to the world as I am set to react by the circumstances, he told, therefore I gave. Did you give him deliberately? No, I felt like kicking, I kicked him. Then what happened afterwards? I found myself in the hospital. I didn't know what happened to me. I know one thing, I lost 4 of my teeth, that I know. It's a happening. Remember, it's a happening. Like the rains happen. Here also it's a happening. Thus, reactions of your mind keep on coming. Each one of them is a happening for which you are not responsible. Because at that time you are not there at all. And therefore, man, even though he is a conscious being, but this mind is so mechanical that it keeps on reacting. Any reaction is mechanical. Action is conscious. When you do something, if you really deliberately kick that fellow, it is good. It is good in the sense, at least it is a wrong thing to do, but at least you are conscious, thank God. You are ready for the consequences. It is good in the sense, at least you are conscious. But mechanically doing it, then you yourself didn't know why you did it. And afterwards you regret for what you did. A conscious bad action is better than a mechanical bad action. A conscious bad action will correct you. A mechanical bad action, if you do it, you are apt to do it much more later. Because mechanical anyway, that's why you don't learn anything. Because you just first I did mechanically once, and again, and afterwards I was beaten completely as a pulp, to a pulp I was beaten, and again I do the same thing and again get pulped. That is because mechanical. The previous action was as mechanical as the present action. So you are not responsible, and therefore you have got time only to regret for what you had done before. This whole life becomes a series of reactions than of actions. That is, a man is an automaton. He is a machine. And if he is a machine, at least the other fellow can set him properly. But now and then he becomes conscious. That is the whole problem. Now and then he becomes conscious in his action. And when he is conscious, he regrets. When he is not conscious, he does to regret later. You can just think of it. Therefore, a mind that is an abiding mind, as I've been talking, is a mind that refuses to react. And therefore, Bhagavan says, all these you will find help you discover a mind which doesn't react. So if I demand respect from others, then I am apt to react. If I don't demand respect for anybody else, I stand in my own glory. A flower, a rose, as it blossoms, it doesn't send out messengers to come, please come and see me, I am so fragrant and so colorful, please all of you come. It doesn't have any publicity media. But the eyes that can see will always see. If the human eyes are too busy to see that flower, the beauty, well, at least the bees will come and see, making a beeline towards it. And in its own glory it remains. Like the moon, like the sun, like any of them. It doesn't demand anything. In its own setup it is glorious. Like that, a wise man, a man who at least if he understands this small little thing, that it is better to command respect than demanding it. If at all respect is given to me, it should be commanded by me. A demanded respect, even if it is given, it is not given to you, please. And when the people give, sometimes they give, they may not give also. Therefore, if you just go to a place thinking that you are going to get respect, and if it is not given, you had it. You can't stand. Any small little disrespect to you, you can't stand. And there is a reaction. That is called reaction. The other man has got his own limitations. We don't understand the other man at all. He has his limitations. He has his fancies. He has his values. In fact, he has his problems. He is as struggling as you are dealing with your petty, superficial, shallow mind. And therefore there is no question on that to demand of that fellow a better behavior, to expect of a fellow a better behavior is again petty. The other fellow you said is petty. But you are not that petty when you expect a behavior from him. And therefore, a man who appreciates this fact, I demand no respect from anybody. And if any respect comes to me, I just don't even receive it really. That is why a wise man being told you are wonderful, and he knows his fellow doesn't know what is wonderful. Because his wisdom is so vast, that this fellow, what he tells is you are wonderful, Swamiji, means what does he? He doesn't know what wonder is. And what depth he has got, this fellow doesn't know. Therefore, he can't even receive it. If the other man who knows exactly the depth of the other person and he tells you are wonderful, there again he is not going to be praised because it is a thing that is already accomplished, it's a fact. If the fire is told you are hot, the fire is not going to smile, yes, I am hot. Yes, that's why I am fire. And that's a wise man, you go and tell you are wonderful, you say, yes, I am wonderful. It's not a praise, because he knows that he is wonderful, therefore there is no question. And if you go and ask a fellow, you go and ask that flower, you tell the flower, you are so beautiful, you are so colorful, you are so fragrant. If the flower has got something to say, that is why I am flower. Understand? That's why I am flower. What is the praise? There is no flattery in it, because it's a fact. And therefore, please understand that so to demand respect from others is to buy trouble for yourself. Is to get into spells of reaction. And therefore, the one who doesn't bother about manitvam, he has blocked a lot of problems, in fact. It's so simple. In life itself, at home it is more peace. Because each one asserts himself. Demand. Right is my right. As a husband, this is my right. And wife says, as a wife, this is my right. Right means a fight. You can't avoid it. If you don't demand from the other, as a husband, this is my duty. Our society is made on duty. If this is my duty, any society should be so. If this is my duty, as a husband, this is my duty towards you, I do all that I can. The other also, as a wife, this is my duty towards you, I do all that I can. Sometimes I am not able to. Because one can't live up to all duties expected. Therefore, there is amity. Where there is duty, there is amity. Where there is right, there is fight. This is my right, no? This is my right. But it doesn't last more than 20 days. If it lasts because the law doesn't allow you to separate. And therefore, so this absence of demanding from the people, from the society, from children, from elders, from even gods, I don't demand anything. He has made me complete. He has put me in a beautiful world. It lacks nothing. Everything seems to be a provided house, as I will talk about it later. Therefore, there is nothing there for me to really demand of him. What he has not given me, And that's the one who doesn't demand anything from anybody. He does what he can all the time, acquires what he can acquire. And that person is definitely free from, he is not bound to react because he doesn't demand in terms of respect. One thing. This is called amanitvam. Please make a note of it, what it is. Then, adambitvam. Dambaha asya astiti dambi. Tasya bhavaha. And therefore, so this lack, this absence of demanding from the people, from the society, from children, from elders, from even gods, I don't demand anything. He has made me complete. He has put me in a beautiful world. It lacks nothing. Everything seems to be a provided house, as I will talk about it later. Therefore, there is nothing there for me to really demand of him. What he has not given me. And that's the one who doesn't demand anything from anybody. He does what he can all the time, acquires what he can acquire. And that person is definitely free from, he is not bound to react because he doesn't demand in terms of respect. One thing. This is called amanitvam. Please make a note of it, what it is. Then, adambitvam. Dambaha asya astiti dambi. Tasya bhavaha dambitvam. Tad abhavaha adambitvam. What is damba? The other fellow had some qualification. Therefore he demanded respect. But this fellow who has no qualification but puts up a front. So kriya, bhasha, vesha, bhasha, kriya ityadi chaturyadibihi swamahatva prakatanam dambaha. Prakatanam, projecting oneself. By what? By vesha, by dress. Even though he is not a rich man, he will dress as though a rich man. Even though he can't afford to have such a long car, he will have one car like that. And suffer, all the time suffer in that. This is called damba. Even though he can't buy such big things and all that in the market, he will buy all of them. Even though he has nothing to really promise that fellow, I will get you, he will promise him. Job you want? I will get you, don't bother. Promise him. And hook that fellow also, and he will suffer because of this fellow. Now this is called damba. So mahatva prakatanam. His glory he will project without enjoying one. The other fellow has got some glory for which he wants respect. This fellow has no glory and he will put up a front as though he has one. A fellow who is a hypocrite. And there is nobody, even Bhagavan cannot save him. The Lord were to come and save him, hypocrite. He will not save him, will not be able, because the fellow is a false fellow. If he comes and saves the fellow, the false fellow will be saved. Again the hypocrite, being a hypocrite, there will be another fellow who is yet to be saved. And therefore, the one who doesn't own up one's own limitations, he is not going to give them up. Much less he is going to grow out of them. A man who owns up one's weaknesses is one who can get out of them. A problem solved when problem faced. A problem is when it is not faced, please. And therefore, this fellow who doesn't face his own weaknesses is not going to get out of them anytime. It is good to be a weak person and own up weakness. As someone said, a man who doesn't know and doesn't know that he doesn't know is a fool. He doesn't know and he doesn't know that he doesn't know is a fool. Shun him. That's what he said. I won't shun him. I will try to make him a little more sensible. Make him understand that he doesn't know. So someone said, shun him. And a man who doesn't know and knows that he doesn't know is a simple man. He is a simple man. he can learn. He alone can learn. Because he doesn't know and he knows that he doesn't know. That's a very great knowledge. You can teach him. I heard a story this morning that it seems two fellows came to a teacher and the teacher asked him, why do you want to learn? What do you want? I want to learn. Why do you want to learn? Because I am a fool. How do you know that you are a fool? Because I know my mind and I am a fool and therefore I want to learn. Then he said, okay, stay here. Another fellow he asked, I said, what for you have come here? I want to learn. Why do you want to learn? Because I am a fool. How do you know that you are a fool? My mother told me, my brother told me, my uncle told me. He said, get out. This fellow, even to know that he is a fool, somebody has to tell him. Suppose somebody call him donkey, he will think perhaps he is a donkey also. Understand? To know that I don't know is a very great thing. He can be taught. But a hypocrite who all the time puts up a front that he is not, is a big bluff to himself. And he thinks bluffs others. He is only bluffing himself. He is creating a two false personality. I mean, two personalities, one for himself, one for others. And later it becomes such a split that this fellow, he has no chance because there are two fellows. Even Bhagavan were to save one fellow, the other fellow will still remain. And he will split himself into two, like an amoeba. And again there will be two fellows inside. A hypocrite is a hypocrite. And therefore Bhagavan says, Adambitvam. Never put up anything that you are not. Never put up a show that you are not. You need not tell all your weaknesses to people. These are my weaknesses and I don't go about telling everybody. Not necessary. But then, better you know them. Better you own them. And so that you are out of them. In fact, there is no weakness in man. He must learn his strength, that is enough. He must discover his strength, that is his strength. He has got all the strength in himself. He's got all the beauties in himself. So the more he asserts that, it will not be there. This is called adambitvam. Therefore, he has nothing to really hide because he's so beautiful. He has nothing to hide. And that absence of dambitvam, absence of hypocrisy, and it is called adambitvam. And again, ahimsa. Ahimsa is non-injury. I don't consciously, deliberately injure anybody. Physically, of course, I injure anybody. I don't injure anybody. And again, orally, I don't injure anybody. And only a teacher can hurt a student because he has to hurt him. Unless he hurts that fellow, he will not be alive. Otherwise, he will think that everything is fine with me. Therefore, he should be hurt. Only a teacher has got the right to hurt another person orally. But nobody else. Nobody else can really hurt. A mother perhaps can hurt a child in the sense physically, perhaps some now and then one or two may be useful. But then what is said, there is love behind it. And therefore there is no problem. The teacher also has a love to communicate. There is no problem. But then, and otherwise, no other person I consciously hurt. It's a very important thing. No other living creature I consciously hurt. And that person is a sensitive person. And he can really understand, he can understand himself, he can understand others also, the whole world. So the sensitivity should not get blunted by going about hurting people. Therefore, I don't hurt physically by action anybody. I don't hurt by my words anybody, much less I hurt anybody by my thoughts. So if this is understood very well, your behavior will be one that doesn't warrant any problem, in fact, doesn't create any problem. You don't get into situations where you have to react. So you keep yourself so clean around that you never enter into a situation which will demand a reaction on your part. Thus, if a man is able to live A life free from reactions for a length of time, reactions cannot come. Only actions will come because it's a habit. Reaction is a habit. How to break the habit? Therefore, ahimsa, kshanti is a very important thing. Kshanti, accommodation. You accommodate others. You accommodate situations. You accommodate events in your life. Kshanti. Everyone has this capacity to accommodate. But only thing is sometimes, on certain, he doesn't want to accommodate. There is a problem. Not that he doesn't know how to accommodate. He doesn't want to accommodate. Like even, a child is on the shoulders of his father. This fellow is a growing baby. And he goes on kicking the father. And the father is very happy. Hey, this fellow is kicking, and he shares his joy with his wife. See how he is kicking, it is so powerful. This fellow is growing, I think, and all that. He's so strong and all that. You see, I can't stand this fellow's kick now. And he's so happy and shares his joy with his wife. And later the same fellow, after 20 years, he says, I will kick you out of the house. That's what he says. But the father will shoot that fellow down, perhaps. Why? Because now he's a different person. Why is a different person? Then it's the same father, same son, but there the action was kicking. Son kicking father is not a good thing. And son kicking father, why anybody kicking anybody is not a good thing. Kicking is only for football, not football. Here football is different. What is that? Soccer. Yeah. Here football is a handball. I don't know that. So, in India, football is football. If they touch the ball, it is a foul. The game is foul. Yeah. Because I am in the antipodes now. So anyway, so this don't bother. So what I say, so I can't kick anything else. The legs are not meant for kicking anything, save football. It is meant for carrying me. It is meant for me to stand on. For me to walk, it is not more than that. Anything else I do is abuse. Now the son kicking father is still worse. But then he did it. But father was so happy. Do you know why? Then he appreciated the son. Action was kicking. He never bothered about it. Do you know why? He went behind the action and saw the condition of the mind behind this action itself on the part of the child, and saw in that mind an innocence. The child is innocent. After sheer innocence, it doesn't know who is father, what is kicking, all that it doesn't know. Therefore it kicks. No problem. The fellow is all love, is all sympathy, and he is happy also. But the same son after 20 years, when that fellow says, I will kick you out, there is also a condition in his mind. It is not that action that comes suddenly from him from heavens. He has a mind. That mind also is in trouble now. Therefore the statement has come. That mind may be an indoctrinated mind. That mind may be a jealous mind. That mind may be an angry mind. That mind may be a doped mind, an intoxicated mind. We don't know. And therefore, if the fellow wants to appreciate, if he wants to appreciate his mind, then there will be no reaction on his part. There will be an action on his part. If you see the cause of an action, immediately you are able to appreciate the cause of the action, then you don't react so the cause when you appreciate, you become knowledgeable, you know much more than what the action is. To the action you don't react, and to the cause you appreciate, and then do an action which may be a corrective to that fellow. That is according to your lights. If you think a slap for that fellow is good, as an action, deliberate slap is better. A deliberate slap is better than the other one. A deliberate scolding also is better. Because if you are not deliberate, you will say certain things which will involve you also sometimes. You know, when you scold people, Sometimes you say such things that includes you. So he abuses his brother, he scolds his brother. When he scolds his brother, he calls names. And some of those names include him also. He doesn't, because the fellow forgets what he is scolding. Therefore, it is, even the things don't go home. Anything that you do, it should be deliberate. I don't give a sanction for any wrong action. But I'm telling, a deliberate action is far better than a mechanical action. And hence, so this accommodation is there for him, because when he appreciates the cause of the action, you will find you are accommodating. If at all it requires an action for you to correct somebody, that whatever according to your lights you may do something, but then there is no rancor in you, there is no anger. And why? Because it is an action that is coming from a mind that has appreciated the cause. Each one, like even a doctor in a hospital, he can't complain to anybody. This fellow is all the time weeping. You can't say, that is why he came to you. He can't stand the pain, and therefore he has been weeping, and he can come to you, you can console him. And he can't also complain that whoever comes to me has got a complaint to make. Can you say that, being in a hospital? And if you are a doctor of medicine, naturally they will come to you only when these things are there. So they are not going to come to you when you are busy there, and in a hospital especially, to say hello and have a cup of coffee with you. Neither you have time, nor they want to have a cup of coffee in the Dettol atmosphere. Nobody wants to have a cup of coffee there. So it doesn't come there. So what I say, so now one can't afford to react when one accepts a certain facts. So these are all certain facts. The other man he has got his own limitations. We refuse to accept the limitations of another man. And you have got million limitations. One of the limitation is refusal to accept the other's limitation. That is one limitation. That is one limitation. So the others have got enough hang-ups as you have. And one of the hang-ups is to tell that the other fellow has got hang-up is a hang-up in you. And therefore remember, to accept the others as they are, as a even. Don't expect the scorpion to be different. I don't expect the snake to be different. I keep off from them all right. I don't expect them to be different. I don't expect the rose to be different. And similarly, I don't expect a baby to be different. If it becomes wet in my hand, I can't say this fellow doesn't have any sense and all that. I can say that. Because I expect, when you take that baby in your hand, you must expect. I said, don't keep it for 2 more minutes, keep it. I love babies, but I don't carry for a long time. I give it because I know the fact. I know the fact it is going to get wet and I will be wet. Therefore give. Here you are. So what I say, this you know it very well. Therefore you don't complain to anybody. You complain to anybody, this girl is like this baby is like this. Similarly also the grown-up babies, I tell you. Mustached babies, bearded babies, all are babies anyway. At least to the grandfather is a baby all right. Mother is always a baby. To the mother, the child is always a baby. Because she has brought up this fellow as a baby. She remembers all that, and therefore she thinks this fellow is still a baby. Now what I say, that all are grown-up babies because everyone has got such childish things inside. And therefore, until the fellow becomes really a master, enlightened, nothing to complain, till then he is not grown up. He is not that mature. Therefore, everybody has to grow, and therefore still a child he is. Wisdom tooth comes at least when you are in 20s. Wisdom doesn't come in 20s. Wisdom tooth will come. Wisdom tooth, you know. It gives more trouble than wisdom when it comes. Therefore, everybody is growing. And who is not a child? And therefore, to accept the people as they are, it is such a great thing. If you accept the people as they are, and then I tell you, your heart is always an abiding heart. It has got accommodation. It can suffer a fool nicely, happily, and help him if you can. If you can't, pray. Let this. What else you can do? What else you can do? But then his presence should not give me unhappiness. And thus, people, each one has his limitations. Each one has his weaknesses. Each one is struggling with his own mind. Nobody really wrongs you, I tell you, he wrongs himself. He doesn't know how to tackle his mind and therefore he wrongs you. If he can tackle his mind as you are capable, then definitely he wouldn't have wronged you. Understand? And therefore each one is struggling with his mind and therefore he is an entity. He has got his resources, his weaknesses. He can never disappoint you unless you expect him something that is not there in him. No world can never disappoint a man. Why? Because if you don't expect a thing that is not there, if somebody disappoints you, that is because you expected so many other things that are not there in that fellow, and then you say he disappointed me. He didn't disappoint you. You got disappointed by your own wrong expectations. You have to blame yourself, not anybody. Please always remember, one finger pointing out towards the other fellow, three towards you, all the time. Remember that always. Never accuse another fellow. And thus, these three fingers are always towards you. And thus it is a pointer, three times one has to think. And this, so this accommodation is to take the people as they are. If you can help them, help them. If you can't help them, the world is wide. They also have got place to live. And therefore you go your way. And this is the right, this is called a kshanti. A heart that can accommodate the whole world. And a few more is there, I am ready to accommodate. Don't bother about the population explosion and all that. You will be off before all that. We will see later, don't bother. And they will solve problems as though we have taken the contract to run the world. So everybody thinks that he is the God and he is running the whole world. And that is why he thinks that he is the one who is going to plan for the entire future generations of 25 generations and all that. Say you do whatever you can, fine. And thus this is our heart should be so commodious that it can accommodate another million of people. Let them be there, so what? Another billion. It doesn't matter. So we will all have what you call, instead of now, what is that? Billeting. So in a billet we will all live. Each one will have a cot. You will not have a room extra, this separate, that is all. And each one nowadays you are throwing away so many things. I was told that the Americans have spent some $307 million on buying, in 1 year, on buying potato chips and potato chips and some crunchies. So on this, that's $300 million dollars, not rupees, dollars. I read a news item now. So you may not be able to spend that much money, that's all. But you can live without potato chips also. These are all wrong problems. These are all things that we keep on imagining as though we are permanent and we are going to solve all problems and all that. Nobody has solved any problem. So many avatars also came. Krishna came and he didn't solve a problem. And Rama came, he didn't solve a problem. Jesus came, he didn't solve a problem. And because of you, many problems also started. Because of Krishna, many problems started. Because of Rama, many problems were there. And all of them solved problems also. I said, nobody is going to solve all problems. Swami Dayananda is not going to solve all problems. A few people's problems I may solve if they understand me, definitely. But then the whole world I can't take contract that I am here to save the entire humanity. I am the savior. I should be a madcap for that. So to think like that. And therefore this is so our heart must be commodious enough, vast enough, that it can accommodate all people. And among them one will be a fool, another will be a criminal. There is no criminal born. And it is all wrong thinking. He is suffering from his own problems. Everybody suffers because he has got his own fears, you don't know. He has to live a life of fear all the time. The law might not have caught him, but the unwritten law, that law will punish him because there is always a fear. In every cocky shirt, here is not a cocky shirt. So blue shirt, I suppose the police blue shirt. In every blue shirt, he will discover a police there. And therefore, he has to live a life of fear all the time, which is a great punishment for what he did. And therefore, he has got his own problems. Thus, each one has his own problems, that is all. Therefore, we find different types of people. And to all of, I should be able to correct them if I can, so that they can be happy. That's what I say. A criminal is not going to be happy. And therefore, if I can really help him, correct him, do it. If you can't, well, let the heart be commodious to accept all of them for. Each one is essentially the same thing as you are. And each one is struggling to become the same thing alone. And in the process, he commits blunders. That is all what it is. Even like a child, I am able to appreciate as it is. And I should be able to appreciate the grown-ups also. Once the fellow is grown up, I expect from him too many things. Therefore, I get disappointed, not by the people, because of my own expectations. And therefore, any disappointment is due to my wrong expectation, which is not there. This is called kshanti. If this is there, I tell you, all American homes will become peaceful, as Indian homes will be. Not that Indian homes are more peaceful. Maybe more peaceful, all right. But then again, there are also problems as everywhere, because human mind is the same. Whether it is an American mind or an Indian mind, it is the same place. That it is subject to jealousies, that it is subject to this lack of accommodation, that it is subject to expecting too many things from people, that these are all common problems. It is a human mind problem. And therefore, that is why I say it is not a topical problem, it is a problem of everybody. Common problem it is. And hence that is why these words I can talk even today. Kshanti, lack of accommodation. And arjavam, amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, kshanti, arjavam. Arjavam means so straightforwardness. In the sense, there is no bend between my thought, word and deed. What I do is what I say. What I say is what I think. But what I think, I need not say. Please. What I think, I need not say. Please don't go about telling. You will be losing all your teeth. What I think, I need not say. But what I say should be what I think. I should not create a split in myself. The thinker and the speaker should not be different. Why? Because speaker is an actor, an action. Speaking is an action done in the world. Means it is something meant, it is an action which is using an organ of action, the voice. So organ of speech is an organ of action. And therefore I become an actor in the external world when I talk to somebody. And when I think, I am a thinker. So it is subjective. Now between the thinker, subjective, and the fellow who is expressing himself in the external world, the actor, between the thinker and the actor, if there is a gap, do you know what happens? It's called asatya. Whenever you bluff, this is what happens. So you bluff means thinker is one, and again the sayer, the speaker is entirely different. That means you create a split up in yourself. So what, Swamiji? Convenience is exactly what we should go in for. If I think I can bluff my way, why should I not bluff my way through? Because the other fellow does the same thing. And therefore, if I don't bluff, I will be finished. Therefore, let me also bluff. And I will get what I want if I bluff. If I tell the truth, I tell you nothing will come to me. So I want to bluff. Okay. You bluff, I don't mind you bluffing. But I want you to know what is bluff. In bluff, thought is one thing, word is different. The spoken word is an action. And thought is a subjective activity. So the thinker and the actor, they are two different fellows now. Once the gulf is created between the thinker and the actor, and thereafterwards, when you want to think something, really resolve something, and afterwards the actor is entirely different. Like even, you all have this problem of, suppose you decide from tomorrow onwards, or why, in this camp, you are all getting up at 5 o'clock, let me assume. You all get up at 5 o'clock. I mean, because I see all of you here at 5:30, you all be here, and therefore, so you all get up definitely at 5 o'clock, and so that you will be here at 5:30. That's fine. Now you make a resolve here, that hereafter also, even after the camp at home, I will get up at 5 o'clock. Suppose. Or you say, not 5 o'clock, you won't say, 5:30 I'll get up. I'm sure. So you will make a decision, I am sure. So hereafter we should get up at 5:30 so that we will have a little quiet time with ourselves. We will do the same meditation, things like that. We'll have more time with us. All that this fellow decides at 5:30, I will get up. And then when he goes there, he sets the alarm at 5:30 and goes to sleep. And the poor alarm rings at 5:30 faithfully. You get so angry, you knock that fellow and go to sleep again. Why? Because thinker is one fellow. The one fellow who has to get up is entirely different. Somebody decides for me. Somebody else decides. And the one who decided is a fellow who is a thinker. Yesterday night he was there. But who is to get up? Today I have to get up. I'm a different fellow. Remember, between the thinker and the actor, there is such a big yawning Gibraltar gulf. that you find that whatever he decides is one thing, whatever he does is another. Therefore, all the time it is a regret. Swamiji, I don't think I can do it. Because self-condemnation all the time. Because he decides one thing that he can't do. And finds himself incapable of doing anything that he wants to do. Think of it. If mother wants me to do, if I don't do it, I decide, no, I won't do it. That is one thing. Okay. But then here, so I want to do it. I myself want to do it. My mother suggested a good thing. I wanted to do it. I accepted it. Yes, that is a good thing. I will do it. But then it is my suggestion. It is not a mandate that I am fulfilling. It is a good thing that was given to me as an advice. And I want to do it. But I can't do it. Because while at the time of doing comes, and that fellow is entirely different. All because a single bluff that I make and opens up this gap. And thus I get myself, in myself, I see myself, in myself, a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. A split up. And therefore nothing happens. And hence Bhagavan says, Arjavam. I say, just always, Hitam vada, Satyam vada, this is called Satyam. Speak truth. Why they say it is for this alone. So the child should be told what it is all about. Then the child will speak truth. And again, that speaking truth is not some mandate given to me by somebody. It is for myself. So that I will have no split up. There's Arjavam, Avakratvam. There is no gap between my thought and word. All that I think I need not say. But all that I say is exactly true to my thinking. And thus what I do, action, word and thought, all the three of them are aligned. They fall in one straight line, and that is called Arjavam. Acharya Upasanam means, so the service to the teacher. To your teacher. Service to the teacher. What he expects of me, I try to do. Not that all that I can do means, or Acharya Upasanam, service means a readiness to serve the teacher, only indicates a certain surrender. That attitude of surrender is something that can just give me knowledge. Because in this particular knowledge, if the teacher is a chosen teacher, is the right person, he won't exploit the other person who is listening to him, who is his student. And therefore, so the student will not question what the teacher says, will always try to understand what the teacher says. That is called surrender. Understand? So he doesn't question the teacher at any time, but then he questions his understanding, and therefore he questions the teacher. So I have a doubt, not that I question you, I don't question you, but I know what you say is correct, may be correct, but I don't understand. And therefore please explain to me what is being said. That is attitude of surrender, remember. I never question my teacher, and that is why we have to choose the teacher first who need not be questioned, who cannot be questioned. And therefore, once the teacher is one that whom I have chosen is a proper teacher, then I don't question him. But then I try to understand him all the time. So that because I have come there to him, not I serve him, not for service sake, but I serve him for gaining this knowledge. And therefore, so with that sense of surrender, so I serve the teacher, learn from him. This is called Acharya Upasana. Shaucham. Shaucham is purity outside, which means keeping things clean around me, so that my mind also is tidy. If my place is tidy, my mind is tidy. Therefore, keeping things outside clean, the concept of cleanliness, of course, is different from place to place, culture to culture also. But we can understand what is clean. It's not a very big thing. So to keep my clothes, my body, outside environment clean. Then cleanliness inside. That is everyday rubbing is to be done. And this is like even every day you keep your place clean outside, and it is said as a mind antara shaucham, bahya shaucham. Inside also every day it should be kept clean. Before the fellow goes to bed, he should just make everything clean and then go to bed. That is called mental cleaning. How to do it? Suppose during the day the fellow dislikes somebody. I'll dislike that fellow. How can? Acha, then that fellow, he doesn't deserve any dislike from you, and therefore that dislike is a problem for you. Therefore, I love him. I just mentally think of him. I send shafts of love upon him. I pray for his change, if at all he requires a change, and thereby I get rid of any dislike in my mind. Thus, day to day, I keep my mind always clean. If I am jealous of somebody, I just bring in the opposite feeling of appreciation, admiration. Generally, they say the jealousy, as I told you, is a very bad thing to allow. Therefore, even as it occurs in my mind, I just nip it in its bud. I appreciate the other's qualities. So the other has got certain qualities, I appreciate that. I try to acquire those qualities. So I don't condemn myself also. And I appreciate, admire the other's person. Generally what happened, he says, these people who are jealous, they say they think that it's very legitimate. Swamiji, I am so qualified, you don't know. I got all the qualifications. I am the one who deserves this promotion. But this fellow doesn't have this qualification. Neither he has experience, nor he has academic qualification. Do you know he got himself promoted? And therefore I am really jealous of him. I feel it is very legitimate. No, he has got qualifications. How? He has no qualification, he has no experience, he has no academic qualification. Then how did he get there? He has got a godfather. That is a qualification. That is a qualification. What is the use of getting all other qualifications, idiot? Get that qualification. Get that qualification. And therefore, so there is nobody whom I can be jealous of. Each one, whether by chance or by something, if he comes up, well, at least let him be happy, if you can't be that happy. So this is Saucham, Antara Saucham. I keep my mind always tidy, clean, well organized, and it is clean mind, tidy mind, no problem. And this is the inner tidiness that I keep it. Always see that it is tidy every day, every day. This is Antara Saucham. Saucham, Styrium. Styrium is steadiness, perseverance. You take to something, you stick to it like a leech until you find that it is useless. That's how you become wiser. And this is called a styrium. So steadiness in your pursuits. Today is one thing, tomorrow is another. You know that? You know that? And in marriage it is the same thing. In other pursuits, anything. Today he will try to study Vedanta, and tomorrow on yoga and asanas and something, and that also he will not do. So asanas 2 days and then that is also gone. Then another day he will hold on to his nose 2 or 3 days, that is also gone. And thus, I mean, what I say, anything that he does well, he has no Sthairiam, steadiness. Otherwise, he will not find out what is what. So how far this can give me, that also he cannot know. He will think, Swamiji, there are many paths. Because he doesn't know any of them. There are many paths. If he has walked all of them, he will understand there is only one path. Because he has not walked all of them, there are many paths. You walk all the paths, you will understand that all of them are no paths. There are blind alleys. There is only one path because I have to know myself, and therefore knowing is the only path. There is no other path. There are many paths, Swamiji. What are the paths? For what? There are many paths for gaining many other things. Like suppose I want to gain my mind steady and things like that, for which there are many methods. But then there is to solve the problem, there is only one path because it is already an accomplished fact. That is what you say. Atma, you should realize. That is exactly. Atma should be realized, and that is a knowing. That is knowledge. There is only one path, there is no another path. And all other paths that what we talk are meant only to create the mind. The mind, prepare the mind. And there are so many, in fact, amanitvam, adambitvam, they are also the same. Amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, kshantihi, arjavam, acharya upasanam. Each one of them is helpful, in fact, to prepare me for this. Then again, sthairiam, steadiness in anything that I undertake. Steadiness, sthairiam, then atma vinigraha. Atma vinigraha, a control over myself, a mastery over myself. I am not impulsive. In my pursuits and things like that, I am not impulsive. I have a mastery over myself. This is called Atma Vinigraha, self-mastery. More we will see tomorrow. Okay, thank you.